Hello and welcome to Sunday's live stream. As always, I will be doing a quick overview of some of the key markets, and then I will focus on some individual stocks. And at the end, of course, like always, I will be trying to answer some of your questions. So put those in the chat or on our Facebook page. So one disclaimer, nothing in this video should be considered as trading advice. So do your own research before putting money in these crazy markets. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin as always with the US 10-year yield. I want to make some few key points about yields. Usually yields, I'm also referring to the bond market as well. So yields are inversely correlated to bonds, and the bond market is the biggest and the most liquid market in the world. Therefore, it is always on our radar, and we are also tracking very closely the movement in yields. So rising yields would be bullish for the stock market. And of course, if we have a sharp drop in yields, that would be bearish and for the stock market, as we saw during the Corona crash, where basically yields saw a very sharp drop, which caused a huge stock market sell-off. Okay, so now let's just focus on the wave structure. If you have been watching some of our previous streams, you can check those on our YouTube channel. Of course, subscribe to that and give us a like. But if you have been watching some of our previous streams, you know that we have been bullish yields, which is basically being bearish on bonds. So we have been tracking an impulsive structure since the start of 2022, and we assume that yields completed an initial 5 waves up for wave 1, which was then followed by a 50% retracement for wave 2, and we looked for yields to begin another 5-wave rally similar to that from the start of the new year. And so far, the latest rally supports this bullish view, and it is viewed as wave 1 of a minor wave 3. And currently, we are correcting the recent rally in a wave 2. So, a very near term, I expect to see at least one more wave of lower yields towards the upper trend line of this base channel near to 30 basis points, and possibly towards the 38.2% retracement of wave 1. So basically this is a strong bottoming zone for wave 2, and of course an ideal target. So once this zone is reached, we will begin to watch for low in wave 2 and a sharp reversal higher in wave 3 of 3. Another key point I want to make is that third wave advances or declines are usually the strongest segment in an impulse. So in a nutshell, I expect a very sharp rally going forward, specifically in Q2, with the 1.618 multiple of minor wave 1 a strong initial target, and a solid break above this level will likely paved the way for further sharp rally towards the 2.618 multiple of wave 1 near 255 basis points. Okay, so yeah, this is our overview of US 10-year yields. So now let's take a look at the stock market. As I said previously, rising yields are bullish for the stock market, and I believe that US stocks have bottomed, and specifically the pattern in NASDAQ futures is maybe the most clear pattern when compared to the S&P, for example. So here I see a very clear flat pattern labeled ABC with an ending diagonal in the C wave position. So the guideline for ending diagonals is that they tend to be retraced for less than half the time they take to unfold. So this diagonal took about 3 months to unfold, so we should see a return above the origin of the pattern near 16,671 for less than, yeah, it ended mid-March. So basically we need maybe 1 more month or less, of course, to climb to new all-time highs in NASDAQ futures. And specifically, given the pattern in NASDAQ futures, I will be taking a look of some tech stocks, of course, mostly some EV stocks, which present a high confidence trade setup. So we'll take a look at those after a few minutes. But just to conclude with NASDAQ futures, very near term, we are likely to see possibly next week a further weakness to retest the prior fourth wave lows and possibly test the 38.2% retracement of wave 1 near 14,387 before we get some upside acceleration in minor wave 3. So let's actually take a look at some targets above the prior high. I will be projecting a reverse of 1.32 and a 2.0 multiple of the entire correction, and these will be our targets, of course, for the next impulsive rally in NASDAQ futures. So the initial target comes in at about 18,209, and a solid break above here will likely then target 2558. So these are targets that we can expect to be achieved later this year, perhaps maybe in the second half of 2022. Okay, so now let's continue with euro dollar. So we have been bullish euro dollar, but so far we have yet to see any solid evidence that euro dollar has bottomed. So recently we have been starting to get some buying, but so far this rebound has been corrective in nature. Of course, it could evolve into an impulse, but I need to see some upside acceleration above the central line and preferably above the upper trend line of the channel formed by minor wave C to establish a tradable low is in. And Another key point I want to make is that this upward sloping trend line that connects the 2017 and the 2020 lows acted as a support to the latest decline in euro dollar. So basically this keeps our bullish view on a solid ground. Okay, so and of course, something to add as well. If we get some upside acceleration in euro dollar, this should be, of course, followed by some upside acceleration in gold and silver. And next up, of course, we are going to take a look at gold. So here we have tweaked a bit the wave count because we did not quite anticipate this pullback. So as you may know, we have been a bullish gold, and we expect much higher prices into the new year. But the internals of this fifth wave are quite difficult to determine in real time. So initially, this sharp rally, we thought that this was wave 3 of 5, but of course, the other wave principle has its flaws because not always every pattern is distinguishable in real time. So basically, we are currently assuming that prices are just completing a larger second wave correction within wave 5, within intermediate wave 5, which is actually an exact 62% retracement of wave 1. So for me to conclude that wave 2 is complete, I will need to see some upside acceleration initially above the $2,000 handle. And the next key obstacle to overcome, of course, are the prior highs near 2069. So above here would add upside traction in wave 3. And if we project a 1.618 multiple from the recent low, it comes in at about 2367. So a reasonable upside target for a minor wave 3. Of course, a break above here, and possibly after a fourth wave correction near this level, we will look for another rally towards 2471 to complete 5 waves up from the January low. Of course, this would also give some upside acceleration in gold and silver miners. I would highly encourage you to take a look at our previous stream where we took a look at quite a bit individual stocks of gold and silver miners, which present which actually have great upside potential. So definitely something to take a look at. Okay, so next up is the energy sector, and I will zoom in specifically on crude oil, but since our last stream, there hasn't been much change to the forecast, so essentially we remain bullish in wave 3 of 3. The recent pullback is a likely corrective, and the prior high near $70 is a near-term support, which keeps this bullish scenario on track. The Fibonacci cluster into the 89 to 92 area represents a strong short-term target which will likely be achieved in Q2. So near this zone, prices are likely to stall and stage a correction in minor wave 4. Okay, let me just switch to crude oil because I assume there are a lot of oil traders, and this would be much more helpful than the energy sector. So, uh, the wave count is similar here, where this is the weekly actually. So, the big picture basically reveals a completed ABC correction with a nice triangle in the B wave position, and of course the recent sharp rally likely represents intermediate wave 3, and currently prices are taking a bit of a breather and correcting this rally, but ultimately I expect oil prices to climb to new highs with the 1.618 multiple near $201 a reasonable upside target, which also corresponds with the reverse 1.32 multiple of the entire uh, bear market correction. So essentially, this zone is our target, but it will likely take time to be achieved, maybe at the end of this year, or maybe it can take even longer, of course. So, but yeah, the 200 handle is a key level to watch in crude. And if we zoom in a bit, we can see the internals of wave 1, a nice 5-wave structure, and somewhat a shallow and brief correction for wave 2, but of course it is typical for second wave pullbacks and corrections in general to terminate near the prior fourth wave low, as is the case here. And I have drawn a parallel channel for uh, the rally and the decline in for waves 1 and 2, and the break above the upper trend line essentially confirms the presence of wave 3. So this is a nice channeling technique which I encourage traders to employ. So and often after a breakout like we had here, prices often come back to retest either the upper trend line of the channel or possibly the central line. So before, of course, continuing higher, and we can label this decline as wave 2 of 3, and most often than not, wave 2 tends to end near the central line of the base channel. So, and as I mentioned earlier, third wave rallies tend to be the most aggressive segment in an impulse. So, another key thing to keep in mind. Okay, so now let's take a look at commodities, and as a proxy I'm using the Invesco Agricultural Fund. So here similarly there is not much change to our outlook since our last update. Prices have been trading mostly sideways, and this likely represents a small correction within a larger third wave rally. So $31 remains our target by the end of the year, where intermediate wave 3 would achieve a typical 1.618 multiple of wave 1. Also, I want to note the breakout here, that after we got a break above this downward sloping trend line, prices came back to retest this trend line. And as I mentioned earlier, after a breakout, prices come back to retest old resistance, which becomes, in this case, now becomes support. And this should be the case in a bear market as well, where old support should become a resistance. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at some cryptos. And Bitcoin, of course, the leader in the crypto market, with the biggest market cap actually. So here we have been tracking a correction for primary wave 4, and we actually looked for this correction to be a bit deeper than it currently is. So the prior fourth wave low is usually a target, for a reasonable target for fourth wave corrections, and the prior fourth wave low should also be strong support from which the next rally in wave 5 should begin. However, prices actually came close to the prior fourth wave low and began to recover, but this recovery still looks corrective, so I am still skeptical to call a strong low in place. But it is also important to keep in mind that stocks have bottomed. So usually stocks and cryptos have somewhat a strong correlation. So when stocks go up, Bitcoin usually follows. So if, like I mentioned earlier, we have a pretty clear completed correction in NASDAQ futures, so I won't be surprised to see Bitcoin climb to new highs eventually. However, I'm not sure that this is the low quite yet. So a key resistance level to watch here is the B wave high at 52,345. So upside acceleration above this level would begin to build the case that wave 4 has bottomed. An alternate would be prices tracing out a triangle fourth wave from this high here. Let me just outline the potential triangle. So this would essentially imply additional sideways activity to complete a 5-wave sideways pattern, a triangle. But ultimately, I believe that Bitcoin will climb to new highs with the projected targets and reach the projected targets on the chart, which are 84, 894, and followed by the 100,000 handle. So it's just a matter of time for Bitcoin to climb to new highs, but as I said, the internals near term are not quite clear. Okay, so something to add, if this B wave high is tested and it remains strong near term resistance, we will most likely see another ABC decline towards the prior fourth wave low to complete a complex double zigzag for wave 4. So this is another probable trajectory for Bitcoin. So as I said, this is the B wave high is the key level to watch. Upside acceleration above here would be bullish for Bitcoin, but until then we could see more sideways to down activity to basically complete a larger fourth wave correction. Okay, and one of my favorite cryptos, as you may know, is XRP. So XRP basically remains locked in a sideways range, which I view as a triangle for primary wave 4. And recently we have been starting to get some buying, and we are slightly pressuring this BD trend line. So this trend line is key resistance. Acceleration above this trend line would hint that this triangle is complete and we are likely headed to new all-time highs. And the $12 handle is our target for 2022, which is a reverse 1.32 multiple of the entire decline, where the prior fourth wave extreme acted as support, as shown on the chart. Of course, there is greater bullish potential in XRP, but let's take it one step at a time and not become too aggressive. We like to see evidence before we project higher levels. And maybe finally, I want to note that the time wave 4 took to unfold is almost 2 times the length of time which primary wave 2 took to unfold. So it is pretty common for wave 4 to square up to wave 2 in terms of time. So I won't be surprised, as I said, if we see in the next month or so a break above the BD trend line and this would of course confirm a bullish reversal is underway. Okay, so let me see, before I jump on to individual stocks, there was an interesting story this week about dollar yen. So the BOJ, the Bank of Japan, essentially announced that it would be buying an unlimited amount of JGBs, which are government Japan government bonds, 10-year bonds to be precise, to battle inflation pressures. But this has been very, very bearish for the yen because many Japan citizens have been basically selling off their yen and converting it into dollars and buying dollar assets, which are yielding more than the 10-year bonds in Japan. So this is the story here. So the wave count is supportive of this event, and I expect dollar yen to continue to weaken, the Japan yen to weaken against the dollar, and a equality between waves C and A comes in at about 153. So this is for Japan. Okay, so now let's take a look at some individual stocks. As I mentioned earlier, NASDAQ futures have bottomed along with the other indices. but I want to focus in this week's live stream on some EV companies. Some of them are Chinese EVs. We'll also take a look at some Chinese tech companies, but all of them are listed on the NASDAQ. So yeah, if you want to trade those, you can definitely do so. Let me just take a quick look at the chat. Okay, so my other laptop is not working for some odd reason. Okay, so yeah, let's continue with the stock, the individual stocks, and this is XPENG, or the ticker is XPEV. So this stock, I believe, has completed an ABC pattern, which has formed an almost perfect corrective channel, and prices touched the bottom of the channel and then reversed sharply higher. And further to note, we had this nice island gap reversal, which essentially means that prices gapped lower and then quickly gapped higher, leaving this vacant space on the chart, and this like an island pattern here. So currently we are pressuring the central line of this corrective channel, and a break or some upside acceleration above here would be bullish, would be basically bullish confirmation that XPeng has bottomed, and this would unlock the door for a rally to new all-time highs. Let me just take my Fibonacci tool and project some targets. Okay, yeah, so an initial target comes in at $128, and a solid break above here then targets the $300 handle. Okay, so next up is a NIO. So this is another Chinese EV company. So the pattern here is identical. We have completed 3 waves down for intermediate wave 2, but we are still very early. It is still very early to confirm that this second wave is complete. Although it looks complete, we need to see a break above the upper trend line of the corrective channel, and of course to close this gap here, which will likely act as resistance, near-term resistance, before we conclude that we are beginning a sizable third wave rally. So something interesting to note is that we had maybe a similar pattern in Tesla before we saw the very big rally for the past year or so. So I'm not saying that this is the next Tesla, but definitely there is quite a bit bullish potential here. And let's project a 1.618 multiple of wave 1. It comes in at about $119. So this would be about, let's say, 4x from nearby levels. But of course, you know, third waves are often aggressive and can achieve an even greater multiple. So the 2.618 extension comes in at $184. Okay, so next one is Workhorse. This is not a Chinese EV producer. They are based in the US. And here again, we have a pretty high confidence trade setup where prices recently completed a complex correction and somewhat a uh, short bear market. And if I connect the highs, the top and the wave X high, we get a pretty nice trend line, which is now broken, which this actually is starting to suggest that Workhorse has bottomed, and we are now turning higher and likely heading higher to complete another 5 waves up. Okay, so yeah, actually, let's see some targets here. So if these are an initial 5 waves up for, let's say, primary wave 1, and this is primary wave 2, these targets at $59 and $83 would be just initial targets, and if we were to see a sizable third wave rally, I would expect Workhorse to target 124 and possibly $164. So another stock with quite a bit of a bullish potential here. And yeah, I mentioned Tesla earlier. So although I believe Tesla is in its somewhat late stages of its bull market, there is still opportunity in Tesla, and there are some gains to be made, of course, for those that are still long Tesla. So similarly, like NASDAQ futures, we have completed here a flat pattern, which is now being followed by a 5-wave rally to new highs. And if we project the reverse 1.382 and 2.0 multiple of this correction, which is my preferred measuring tool actually, we get targets that come at 1448 and 1783. So yeah, these are key levels to watch this year, but I would be very cautious after we reach these levels. I'm not saying that maybe Tesla will top out near these levels, but I do believe that the rally in Tesla is definitely getting too extended. And as for the wave structure from the bottom, I believe that these are just an initial 5 waves up for minor wave 1. So expect resistance and possibly a correction in minor wave 2 near the prior highs between between 1241 and 1207. So this zone is an ideal topping zone for minor wave 1. Okay, and finally, I want to take a look at Nikola Motors. There has been quite a bit actually, controversy around this stock, but I think this is also a solid trade setup, mostly due to the ending diagonal pattern within wave Y, and the subsequent sharp reversal breaks the downward sloping trendline that connects the prior highs. So this is starting to suggest that the next bull market phase is probably in its very early stages, but near term, of course, I won't be surprised to see a retest of this trend line. As I mentioned, this is typical for breakouts where we will likely test old resistance and it will become support on pullbacks going forward. Okay, so maybe lastly we will take a look at some tech stocks, tech China stocks, which also reveal crisp patterns actually. The first one is JD. This is an online retailer. So the story here is that JD traced out a 5 waves up from 2018, and recently we have most likely completed a somewhat an year-old correction labeled ABC, and this was a 78.6% retracement of the entire rally in JD. So I'm bullish this stock, but I want to see further upside activity above the central line to gain confidence that the next 5 wave rally similar to that from 2018 is underway. And just for the fun of it, let's project a 1.618 multiple for the next 5 wave rally, which will likely be a third wave. I'll put the labels like so. So yeah, I'm labeling this as primary waves 1 and 2. And the next big move should be a rally, a sharp and sizable rally in primary wave 3, which should target the 1.618 multiple of wave 1 near $187. And of course, a solid break above here likely then targets $277. So I believe this is a stock that should be owned in the next years, and it has growth potential maybe like Amazon in its early years. So like I said, I believe that US tech stocks are overall very late in their bull market phase, and we should look for opportunities elsewhere. So if you are looking for maybe the next Amazon or Tesla, I believe that Asian markets, specifically China, is the place to look for. And another retailer is Baba or Alibaba Group. So the pattern here is identical, and specifically the correction following the 5 wave advance is even greater here in Alibaba. It exceeds the 78.6% retracement of this rally, and it is possibly close to 90%. So again, this is another great long-term opportunity in my opinion. But as I said at the start of the stream, this is not financial advice, and you should do your own research before putting your capital in these volatile and crazy markets. And finally, I want to take a look at RAZER. So here we also have a pretty straightforward pattern. So RAZER completed 3 waves down, and subsequently traced out waves, primary wave 1 and 2, and we are now in the very early stages of primary wave 3, where waves 1 and 2 are complete. Wave 2 is almost exact 62% of intermediate wave 1. So I believe Q2 will likely be an interesting period where we should see a sharp third of a third wave rally and razor towards the $5 handle and ultimately above. Okay, so let me see if we have some questions. Okay, Christian Goldman, hi. Okay, let me see further. I just want to check our Facebook page and the chat, of course. Okay, so I see we have some questions regarding cryptos. And the question is which cryptos I think present near-term bullish opportunities. Okay, so I think I have a few of those. And yeah, I will also give you another point why I think that Bitcoin may have bottomed. And specifically, I want to take a look at the chart of Bit Digital. The symbol is BTBT. So this is a Bitcoin miner. And if we look the structure from the top, we have traced out a somewhat crisp double zigzag with an ending diagonal in the C wave position. So, and we recently saw a break, an upside break of this ending diagonal, which is starting to suggest that a tradable low could be in. So near term, I want to see further upside acceleration towards the $6 handle, and ideally above, because this would not only fully retrace the diagonal, but this would also result in a break of the upper trend line of the wave one or wave wide channel. So you know that I want to see some key levels and trend lines broken before we commit to the market and assume a low and a change in trend. So as I said, the bullish potential is here, but we need to see the market commit to us before we commit to the market. Okay, so I have another maybe 2 or 3 cryptos that I believe that look interesting near term. So this is probably a forgotten crypto, Bitcoin Cash. So here I believe prices completed a long-term triangle for wave 4, which was then followed by a rally in wave 1 and quite a deep correction in wave 2, which is actually common for second waves. And we're currently pressuring this downward sloping trend line. So breaking and holding above this trend line would begin to suggest that minor wave 3 is in its very early stages. So ultimately, I look for Bitcoin Cash to stage a 5-wave rally to new all-time highs, exceeding the 4019 high. And if we use our measurement tool, this would be somewhere around 10x from nearby levels. So an interesting coin to keep in our watch list. Okay, so the next one is EOS. I'm not sure, I may have spoke about this coin in some of our previous streams, but nevertheless, the wave structure here is somewhat identical, but not exactly. Here I'm also labeling a completed correction for primary wave 4, but unlike Bitcoin Cash, here we have a more complex correction, and I really like the signature here in wave Y, a pretty crisp zigzag with a triangle in the B wave position, and I love this ending diagonal, which is again another. It just looks like straightforward from the textbook. So, and this recent sharp rally above the upper trend line of the corrective channel is starting to suggest that we could be turning higher in primary wave 5. So a return above $5 and this B wave high would basically confirm 3 waves down, and wave 5 is in its early stages. Okay, and finally, I want to take a look at a meme coin, which is Shiba Inu. So the interesting setup here is that we completed a pretty clear 5 waves up with a nice triangle in the 4th wave position. So we have alternation between waves 4 and 2. This is common for impulses. If wave 2 is sharp and deep, then we can expect wave 4 to be sideways and more shallow, either a flat correction or a triangle, as is the case here. And the subsequent decline from the top is currently an exact 62% retracement of this entire rally. So this is common for second waves. However, this rally looks corrective thus far, so because it is only in 3 waves. Of course, this could be a series of 1s and 2s, but I would need to see some upside acceleration above the prior high to gain evidence that this is waves 1, 2, 1, 2, and we are hitting higher in a third of a third impulse wave. Okay, so this is what we had for today. Like us, please give us a like. It helps the channel. Subscribe to the channel, of course, and you can also support us by buying us a coffee. Links in the description below, and I'll see you in the next live stream. So please prepare your questions again by posting them in our Facebook page, and I'm